Greetings, power people. This is the Reverend and High Priestess Thema Azize Serwa. I want to have a conversation about what I'm calling struggle shaming. I don't know what it is about this week in particular, but I am seeing a clear distinction between messaging that is compassionate and preserves the dignity of people who are having real human experiences of challenge and difficulty versus messaging that says you should feel a certain way, and if you don't feel a certain way, then you are going to not have access to things that are your divine birthright, like the love you want, the abundance you want. What that tells me is that there is an awakening that is happening in all of us, whether you are on either side of that. There is an awakening that is happening, and there is a reframing of what we know about universal laws, like the law of attraction, the law of karma, the law of forgiveness. And it sounds like we are trying to figure out how this all works. And since we're in the age of social media, all kinds of memes and posts are going up. For those of you who may be in a present struggle, whether it's financial, whether it's emotional or psychological or physical, these conversations can be triggering. And I want to offer my love and support and my acknowledgement of what it's like to feel like you're taking some blows through how people see you and your experience. And to those of you who lead and have platforms and, have messaging to put out, I'm hoping that this conversation will inspire you to be very mindful of what you are saying and how, even with good intentions, you can send a message that someone is in some way, shape, or form unworthy of their heart's desire simply because they are human. So my definition of struggle shaming is when you zoom in on what you consider to be a flaw in someone's life and make their perceived flaw, your perceived flaw of them, the reason that they are facing some kind of adversity in their life. You see ranges of struggle shaming, as extreme as somebody gets hit with cancer and they're told it's because they're not walking with God, to as simple as a best friend listening to her friend vent about her frustrations with her baby daddy, and her reply is, "Oh, but you knew who you laid with," right? So you got different extremes. You got different layers of struggle shaming. Some are more blatantly aggressive. Some are very passive aggressive. The way that we can begin to have healthier dialogues that aren't as triggering and aren't as ego-centered is by simply taking a moment to say, hey, how would you like for me to hold this space, if you can hold it? Because it's real that there are times where you may not be the person to talk to about things. Or you may not be the person that should be talking about certain things. Because your attachment to how other people move through it can cloud your perception of their experience. Because you want it to be a specific outcome. You judge how they moving through their struggle. There is another way. You can detach and create some space so you don't feel so emotionally aroused about the outcome in their life. Or you can ask, hey, what's the best way for me to hold space for you? I can hear that this is something that's weighing on you. So what's the best way to hold space for you? Let people tell you. And if they say, I don't know, say, I'm going to, create some space. I'm going to sit with what I'm hearing and send some loving energy to you. And when you know more, let's talk about it some more. If that's where you are with it. Right? But nothing is more difficult to experience when you're in a valley than somebody telling you shouldn't be there. Clearly, I'm in the valley because this is where I am. And while I'm here, I'm having a wide range of emotions. I'm having a real human experience. I know you want me to be God in this valley. I know you want me to be goddess. I know you want me to be queen. I know you want me to be king. But I'm telling you, in this moment where I am, and to ignore that, to judge it, to tell someone you shouldn't be there, can be damaging. We need to steward our expectations of people and their experiences. As a woman in leadership who has had my own experience with functional depression, PTSD, and other mental health experiences, that I'm thankful to God I am not submitted to and are not running over my life. But, as a woman in leadership, as a woman who serves people every day, I can see the distinct difference between the energy of, come on, hurry up and get about this valley. You shouldn't be in this valley, versus I see you where you are and you're still powerful and you're still loved and you're still accepted. Here's the reality. People who struggle shame, people who want to make you feel bad about the hardships and adversities that you're facing in your life, people who judge that, people who want to abandon you and take space from you because they think your struggle is contagious, all that kind of stuff, that whole mentality, people cannot give you the acceptance that they have not given themselves. So don't just pay attention to what they got on their website and what they say they are about. Pay attention to how they talk about themselves and their journey. And you can tell when somebody was compassionate with themselves and when they were rough and just snatched themselves out of certain things. And you know yourself well enough to know if you can be snatched out or if you need to be handheld, walked out. I don't think there is a right or wrong way. I am in a different value system. Every experience serves me well. That's my truth for my life. That's the principle that I believe in. However, mindfulness. For my leaders, when you see somebody going through, I have seen women and men in leadership walk away from people simply because they're not making the revenue they used to make. They're not getting the endorsements, the flashy stuff, the public validation, because they're going through a struggle. And I just want you to reflect on what makes you so uncomfortable with other people's struggle. I in no way believe in the philosophy of misery loves company. I don't think you need to sit down and take on the weight of somebody else's struggle. But I do want to highlight 2 points that I learned when I was in the Christian community back in the years when I was in church. Job was simply being Job when his shit hit the fan. And his friends, not his haters, not the people who blatantly made it clear they didn't support him or believe in him, his friends began to tell him while he was in his valley that it was his fault, that he must have done something to be in the situation that he was in. And they were wrong. And they had to make retribution. They had to make it right with Job's God to clear up their karma. Those of you who have a Bible, go read it in Job, book of Job. I, was thinking about that passage when I wanted to have this conversation about struggle shaming, because how often are you the one with your own friend who's going through something, telling her what she needs to do, how she needs to do it, or telling her, trying to give subliminal messages that she is the reason she's in that experience? What if she's or he is having a Job moment? What if this valley is her class or his class? What if that's where they need to be for a certain awakening and awareness, and all that was ever required was just love, compassion, presence, listening ear. Hey, I know you're going through a lot. You're going to make it. Why did you feel the need to get worn out by her or his experience and then feel entitled to let them know that and carry that energy to them while they were down? Struggle shaming. I'm too good to be associated with your struggle. I think sometimes we fear that struggle is contagious. So we choose guarding ourselves and denying compassion instead of just being. And the fastest and quickest way to learn how to just be present with someone when they're in the valley is to be in your own. Soon as you hit your valley and you see your Job version of friends, then it clicks. Damn, I was cold. I was arrogant. I was judging her journey and didn't even know it until God sat me in my valley. Especially those of us who have platforms. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it in churches where pastors, throw shade at members in the congregation. I've seen it on live streams and social media where somebody had a private coaching conversation with someone, but they choose to use their public platform to throw shade at what came up in that conversation. I've seen it. I've seen it in sister circles where women start distancing themselves from a particular woman because she's going through it. And some of it is survivor's guilt. Well, I'm flourishing and blossoming, and so I have a lot to celebrate, and she's weeping and mourning because everything in her life is dying, and I don't want to, But then again, even in that, you're making it all about you. And that's the ego's trick. I've been on the receiving end and I've been on the giving end. I have struggle shamed someone else, and I have been shamed in my struggles. So I get it, which is why I want to have the conversation and bring some awareness that for those of you in the valley, you have the right and the need to be mindful and discriminatory about who has access to you. Because the last thing you need is another blow. And for those of you who are witnessing someone in their valley, be mindful of your projections. Be mindful of your tendency to want to snatch them out of that space, because if they're there, it's for a reason. The reason could just be life. We're human. Earth is class. But let's just be a little more gentle. I've been posting some things on my Instagram and on my Facebook that tie into what I'm talking about. You know, any ideology that deems you unworthy. Anybody listening to this right now, hear this clearly. Any ideology, any coaching, any teaching that begins to declare you as unworthy of love or the fulfillment of your desires is toxic. I don't care how they mask it. Oh, you're not in alignment. Oh, you're not in your vortex. Oh, you're whatever language they use. If it renders you somehow being disqualified for the free flow of divine love, it's toxic. Because you were born worthy. And you have the right to protect your holy innocence. Whether you are struggling or soaring, you have the right. You have the right. I want to read to you some affirmations I created for this conversation. That I had to write to myself when I had my Job moment of realizing, my God, some of my own friends, not all, I have an amazing tribe, but I had a few. Some of my own friends are taking the opportunity to tell me what they really feel about my struggle while I'm in the midst of it. And they really believe that that is appropriate. They really think it's kind and considerate and being a good friend. And they masked it as keeping it 100. And it revealed to me where they lacked compassion for themselves. So I had to make the decision to change their access and change my expectations. So some of the mantras I created while I was in that process is, I will no longer punish myself with the opinions and perspectives of people who do not see me as I am. Because guess what? Here's the truth. Even in Job's situation, the reason their words reached his ears was because they were still allowed close access to him and insight into his process and his journey. Everybody can't handle knowing and witnessing your struggles. And being in an experience of struggle, whether it's physical, financial, psychological, emotional, mental, whatever. It's a sacred process of transformation. It's a sacred process. It's holy ground. And so that's not something that you take lightly anymore. Okay, so first mantra again, I will no longer punish myself. See, when I was feeling bad about being in my struggle, started calling my friends and saying, what do you think? Why do you think I'm going through this? What do you think this is about? And they told me what they really thought. And I was like, well, damn, who knew? So I had to get centered within myself, get clear within myself, and say, I will no longer punish myself with the opinions and perspectives of people who do not see me as I am. Second mantra I created for myself is I protect my holy innocence. The other mantra is I am at a level in my life where feeling good is my priority. It keeps me aligned with God. And then the last one that I want to offer you is I could not be more deserving of loving feedback. For those of you who are facing a struggle right now, you could not be more deserving of loving feedback. Just because you are having a point of transition in your life does not give people the right to be mean, to mishandle your delicacy, to have a superiority complex, to judge you, or try to convince you that something is wrong with you. And so you have earned whatever you have because your vibration ain't right, or your intentions ain't right, or you're point blank human. I've had enough of it. It's sad to see. And for my leaders, I have been guilty of it, so I say this to you as lovingly as I can. How dare you misuse your platforms, your voice, and your influence to create a culture where people get judged for being human or at a point of transition in their lives. You're out of order. Come back to the space where you don't project the self-judgment you hold on yourself and the fear of struggles that you have on the people who mirror what you fear and judge. We all are growing. And I wanted to put this out here. I would love to dialogue about it in the comments. Share with me your thoughts about what I'm teaching around struggle shaming. And if you've had an experience of it on either side, you've been the one doing the struggle shaming, or you've been the recipient of it, let it go. We have the opportunity to practice the principle of grace. Some of it, people don't know what they don't know. And everybody doesn't have the skills to know what to do with what is occurring in the moment. And sometimes it is your moment that they learn from. Sometimes it's somebody else's moment that you learn from. My truth is, at the end of the day, no matter what the wound is, love conquers everything. If we can call love into the dialogue, into the conversation, into the exchanges, everybody will be okay. But judgment always requires punishment. So let's call in more love as we witness each other go through life. And when you see somebody down, or if you're the one who's down, let the love come in so that it can make the experience easier. Peace, power, people. I hope you appreciated this conversation. I can't wait to hear your feedback on it.